What happens when a billionaire underestimates the wrong person? It only takes one careless remark, one tiny sentence, to shift the entire balance of a room. That's exactly what unfolded one warm Thursday afternoon inside an upscale restaurant in Scottsdale, Arizona. The place gleamed from polished marble to glassy wood finishes, background music humming softly, expensive, controlled, meant to impress. Servers glided between tables like clockwork, balancing trays with precision. Among them was Elena Marquez, a waitress known for her poise. She carried herself with quiet confidence, dark hair tied back neatly, her notepad always ready, her smile polite, yet never hollow. Regulars knew her name, remembered her questions about their families, the way she actually listened. She wasn't just serving food, she was noticed, respected. But that day, the man seated at the corner table wasn't one of those people. His name was Khalid Rahman, a billionaire from Dubai in town for business. Everything about him screamed dominance. His tailored suit looked like it could cover the rent of the entire restaurant. His gold watch flashed like a small sun every time he moved. His presence alone seemed to demand that the room orbit around him. When Elena approached to greet him, the energy shifted. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. Can I start you off with a drink?" she asked, her tone professional. Khalid didn't even look up. He tapped at his phone, eyes glued to the screen, as though her presence barely registered. A few seconds later he muttered, "Clipped and cold. Water. With lemon." No smile. No thank you. Just words tossed like orders. Elena nodded, unfazed, but as she turned to leave, Khalid leaned toward the young associate across from him, a man in a navy blazer, clearly desperate to impress. In Arabic, Khalid sneered a comment. Even without understanding the words, you could feel the disdain in his tone. Unfortunately for him, Elena wasn't just guessing. She caught the insult. Years earlier, after her parents divorced, she had lived with her grandmother in Morocco. Arabic wasn't foreign, it was a language of family, of bedtime stories, of whispered prayers. She understood every word. When she returned with his water, she placed it gently before him, smile intact. Khalid barely acknowledged her, tossing another insult in Arabic, laughing with his associate as though she were invisible. He had no idea she understood him. That ignorance gave him confidence to mock her posture, her appearance, the way she spoke. His arrogance filled the room like smoke. Elena's jaw tightened, but her exterior never cracked. She'd dealt with customers who treated her like furniture before. But this was different. This was personal. "Would you like to hear today's specials?" she asked calmly. Khalid flicked his eyes up. "I said water. Do you need me to repeat myself?" The words struck like small slaps, his tone dripping superiority. His associate squirmed, unsure whether to laugh, agree, or remain silent. He chose silence, staring at his fork instead. Elena gave no reaction. She had learned patience. But the storm was building. As she delivered his order to the kitchen, she replayed his words in her head. He thought she couldn't understand him. He thought he could strip her of dignity without consequence. What he didn't know was that Arabic wasn't just a skill she'd picked up, it was woven into her identity. Every word he uttered landed not just as an insult to her, but to her grandmother, the woman who raised her. When she returned with bread, Khalid's contempt only grew. "Cheap," he muttered in Arabic, loud enough for her to hear. Just like the one serving it. For a second, her hands froze on the table. She didn't flinch outwardly, but inside, the insult cut deeper. Other diners began to sense tension. Even if they didn't understand the language, they understood tone. The arrogance was obvious. Khalid leaned back, smirking, watching her as though she were an object. He had no idea the stage was already set for his downfall. Then came the breaking point. He sneered again in Arabic, his voice raised. "She should be grateful we even let her work here. A woman like that belongs in the kitchen, not standing in front of me." The words were sharp, degrading, meant to reduce her to nothing. The associate lowered his gaze, ashamed. A nearby couple stopped their conversation, sensing the hostility. The restaurant quieted. Khalid thought he was untouchable. He thought he was safe behind a language barrier. Elena placed his water glass down gently, her movements deliberate. Then she met his eyes, and in flawless, unshaken Arabic, she asked softly, "Would you like more bread, sir, or are the insults filling enough for you?" The room froze. Khalid's phone slipped in his hand, nearly clattering onto the table. His mask cracked, eyes widening in shock. His associate's mouth fell open. The energy shifted instantly. Forks halted midair. Conversations died mid-sentence. Everyone could feel the weight of her words, even if they didn't know the language. Elena's voice was calm, deliberate, every syllable cutting clean. Khalid blinked, tried to laugh it off. Oh, so you picked up a few words from a phrase book. Cute. Her gaze never wavered. No, I learned it from my grandmother, who raised me in Casablanca. Every word you've said since I walked to this table I understood. Gasps rippled across the restaurant. The associate shifted uncomfortably, muttering, "She's right, Khalid. People are watching." But Khalid, desperate to reclaim control, leaned forward, venom dripping. "You think because you speak a language you're my equal? Money decides power. Always has. Always will." Elena tilted her head slightly, her tone steel. "Money may buy you the best seat in the house, but it doesn't buy respect. That must be earned." Her words were a blade quiet, but deadly. Khalid gripped his fork tighter, frustration visible now. His voice trembled as he hissed, "Do you know who I am?" Her answer came like lightning. "Do you know who you are without all this?" She gestured to his suit, his watch, the glass of water. The crowd felt the strike. Khalid faltered. His associate leaned in, voice low. "Enough. You're not winning this." But Elena wasn't finished. She spoke again in Arabic, her tone softer, almost intimate. "My grandmother used to say, the tongue is a sword. Use it to cut down pride or to lift someone up. You've only used yours to cut. But today, it cuts your own arrogance." Silence swept the room. Even the kitchen staff slowed, peeking out at the storm unfolding. Khalid's face flushed. He looked around and saw what he never expected: judgment in every pair of eyes staring back. For once, the billionaire wasn't the man commanding the room. He was the man being pitted. The manager, Charles Vega, approached, voice calm but firm. "Is there a problem here?" Khalid seized the chance. "Yes. This waitress decided to lecture me." Charles cut him off. "I've been here long enough to know she handled herself more professionally than most would." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the diners. Khalid's shoulders slumped. His associate whispered, "She's right, Khalid." "Stop." The billionaire had no defense left. He stared down, his arrogance shattered. Elena, steady as ever, tucked her pen behind her ear. "Your lamb will be out shortly," she said evenly. The final blow wasn't her words, but her composure. She didn't need to humiliate him. He had done that himself. When she returned with the meal, Khalid's eyes flickered with uncertainty. The control he once flaunted was gone. He finally muttered in Arabic, "You speak beautifully." Elena responded, "It's not the language that's beautiful. It's the respect you put behind it." The room exhaled. A lesson had been taught. As Khalid left, smaller now than when he entered, the message lingered in the air. Titles, wealth, and power may demand attention, but they will never command respect. Respect is earned through dignity. And sometimes the strongest voices don't come from those at the top. They come from the very people the world underestimates.